Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah, and I'm a master manifester. I'm sure you are too, because you're watching content like this. The name of this channel is Manifesting Magic, the practical way. A lot of practicalities, manifesting the lives that we choose. Um, I just thought about something that's really funny. You ever meet those people and they just need to have some part of your story, and so they act like they've influenced you like in 100 million ways, and you just like, dude, I already knew these things. I just didn't activate them because I didn't have an interest in it. But I always meet people like that. It's like if they can't take some type of credit for something that you're doing or where you're at, then it almost doesn't exist. It's very weird. Nonetheless, what I'm talking about today is um 7 things you must do if you find yourself living too deeply in what you're calling a reality. And it's just your reality, but you're calling it a reality, right? I find myself in this place often, not even, I wouldn't say often. I find myself in this place sometimes. This is what happens when I share my ideas or my perspective or what I want to do, a point of view with other people. That's when I find myself in this position. But if I'm not in this, if I'm not trying to share it or explain to someone what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, what I want to do, what I want to accomplish, and how I want to do it, then I rarely am caught up into too much reality. But if I find myself there, there's 7 things that I do to pull myself back into the magic and away from all the rigor, because the rigor just doesn't create the magic. It's a piece of it. It's the foundation. It's a piece of the foundation. It just doesn't create it. Because I can honestly say that so many people are going for the same things in life. So many people are trying to create really specific outcomes and things. And to act like there's not magic attached to the people who are successful at it, how things just worked out and played out just so for them, that's kind of like, that's very delusional to me. So therefore, I like delusion, but I like delusion that is rooted in the idea of creating something as opposed to smothering something. So 7 things that I do, right? First thing that I do is I try to dissect the root feeling of why am I digging my heels into a limited perspective? Because generally there's a reason. If I'm really, really trying to work on a very limited perspective, then there's a feeling or there's something behind it that I need to pay closer attention to, right? So there's some type of fear there. There's some type of unworthiness there. There's some lack of confidence there. Maybe there's some overconfidence there. But whenever I find myself digging deeply, deeply into a limitation or what I'm seeing as reality in the moment, it's usually something there that needs to be healed or that needs to be um, expanded in me that I can't see the expansion for yet, right? Number two, second thing that I usually do is I recall all the moments in my life where the reality of what was happening in the moment did not serve me, right? And I had to be delusional because being delusional was the only way to make a beautiful situation. And it's just a fact, right? And really, delusion is just perspective. And people that call it delusional are just people who too grounded in everyday crap. They're so caught up in what every day is happening, the minutia, the news, this or that. And they're like, ah. And so that kind of stuff, those are people that's like, that's delusional. I think it's delusional to be caught up into that stuff. So that's just my mindset. But I recall moments when reality, so-called reality, didn't work for me. That's your biggest teacher. There were times when I thought all was lost. I had so many tribulations when it came to being divorced, being a mom that was trying to give my children the same environment that they would have had in a 2-parent home. It just was not completely impossible, but I got 99.9999% there. I had married people, women that I knew who were married with families, and are asking me, how do you do this? How are you, how did you fit that in your budget? How did you? And I'm like, oh, I really didn't have to. I signed them up for the classes. And then I was like, I don't even have the money for these classes for them to take it. I wasn't bothered by it. I just let it go. And I was like, man, if my children are supposed to be in these classes, let it happen. I'm not about to do anything that's going to degrade me or make me any less than or something like that. And I let it go. And then something like someone would call me and say, oh, you remember that $1,200 I got from you 2 years ago? I actually got some money and I want to give it back to you. Like, this is a constant thing that was always happening in my life. And it always does. And even now, things happen now that are like crazy and miraculous. And I don't even share it. The reason why I don't share it because I don't want anybody to steal the light. Because the minute you try to share things with other people, they want to calculate it, they want to dissect it, they want to pull it apart, they want to question it. And I don't want to do that. I love when things happen that I do not plan and they're beautiful. And I can just absorb it and think, wow, I am in a soft space. I am in a receptive mode. I'm in a beautiful place to where I have created such outcomes where people want to pour things into me. And that's just, yes, where I'm at. I always think about what moments in my life where looking at the reality did not serve me. And it was many of them. And because reality was different things. I met friends before in the past. I was a single mom, but I never said, I'm a single mom. My life is so hard. But I met so many women who were like that. And it's like, as a Black woman, as a Black single mom, and as a, all these layers of oppression they were throwing on themselves, I didn't have the mindset to see my situation like that. I refused to. And guess what? My situation wasn't like that. It just was a fact. You're on paper, they might have said, hey, but you don't have any money. You're not. But I was amazing. I was wealthy. I was wealthy from the inside out. So I never got caught up into, oh, no, I haven't, a father that's not, he's not as responsive and involved as I want him to be. I have a situation to where I have a house note that's bigger than me. I have a situation to where, kids got to go to school across town because, that's the better school and I need to do this. I need to take them there. I need to put my work in, right? So these situations, if I looked at them directly, they would be very daunting, right? So I managed to create this situation to where I didn't have that perspective. And my thing is, why does that perspective even have to exist? It's only the reality of the people who are willing to see it as their reality. Because I wasn't willing to see those things as my reality, I had a really good time raising children alone. I refused to see it as negative. I still don't. It was beautiful. Do it again. I do it again the same exact way 100 times over. The third thing that I do is understand that you don't have the whole truth. That's the biggest thing that I think is, especially with me, working with a lot of academics and intellectual people, very smart people. Everywhere I go, everybody's smart. Everybody's smart, right? Everybody's smart. Working with a lot of people and being around those places, I realized listening to the conversations, because honestly, I talk more in these videos than what I actually talk during the course of my day, like doing work, doing meetings, sitting with people. I don't really chat that much. I listen a lot, right? And if someone didn't know me, they would be like, oh, she's quiet. Nah, I'm not quiet. I just listen a lot when I know I need to listen. And I listen to people talk about their limitations and what won't work and why this won't work, and about, politics and government, recessions and all that. I listen to them, and the whole time I'm listening, I'm thinking, like, dude, y'all don't even have the whole truth. Like, you don't even know what can be done behind closed doors, right? This is a prime example of this. I was working as an IT person for Brookhaven College. This is a college in Dallas, right? And I wanted to move up because I've been there for 6 months and it was basic PC stuff. This is a motherboard. This is a hard drive. This is a CD drive. These are the cables. This is power. This is memory. It was all the same. And I was like, okay, I can do more than this. I get this part of technology. I can do more. So I went and applied for this position that was 3 positions above mine, right? Who would have the gall to do that? Who would have the gall to do that, right? I didn't believe in that whole, you got to work here a little while and then prove yourself and then work up a little more, then prove yourself. And then, like, who are they? Now I'm going to go for what I want to go for. So I was sitting there, and all the people I worked with, a bunch of guys, all in their 20s, just like, I was probably the youngest one, 21 or so, like that. And they were like, oh, you shouldn't apply for that kind of position, whatever. It's way out of your league and your scope. Even my manager, who was another guy who was like in his early 30s or whatever, was like, oh yeah, you can't do that. They're not gonna look at a person like you because you've only been here for 6 months and you don't have you don't have any other employment. And I was like, those things are all true. They're all true. But I'm gonna go ahead and put that application in just to see. Just to see, right? I've been listening to men at work telling me what I can't do for like 100 years. I was like, just to see. And what is the funniest part was the manager, who was so nice to me, who was always, I'm looking out for you, I'm doing this and doing that. And there was this other manager who managed the people across campus, and he was known as like this. They would say this. I didn't say this. He was a redneck. He was old. He was, racist of some sort. He was all these sort of things that everybody said. And I was like, I haven't had a problem with him, Yeah, all right. He comes from in the old days. He's not going to be well versed in how we should talk these days, right? And he used to always call me Gail, which I thought was weird, but whatever. But nonetheless, when it came down to when these people called and they said, we want her, do you think she's a good candidate? The ones who said that shouldn't do it, and they were telling me, oh, it's not that I don't think you can. I don't think you're ready for that. You know what they told the managers? I found out later. Your manager said that you weren't ready and that he wouldn't say that you should have the position. The old man on the other side of the campus who met me a couple of times, and he thought that I was special for some reason that beyond my knowing, he said, well, when they asked me, I told them she was smart as a whip. She was smart as any woman I ever met. All politically incorrect today, right? But that goes to show you that I did not have all the information. In my head, I was going to do something going forward, and I had these people who I thought, this guy wouldn't back me. I would never make him a reference. This guy says that he's rooting for me, even though he doesn't think I'm qualified. And come to find out, the negative one wanted to just play out his negative. He wanted it to be a negative turnout. So he made sure he didn't request that I be moved. And this other guy who everybody said was like some racist deadbeat on campus or whatever he was, they said it was all lies, apparently. He was the one who said, she's more ready than anybody I've ever seen. And that's how I got the position. I'm saying that because sometimes you listen to people and they have to have all of the answers. They have to think that they can see every piece of the puzzle, even though we can't realize that our human perspective is a very limited purview, very limited. So because I understand this limitation, I never talk people out of their plans. I never talk them down about something that's possible or what can be done because I don't have the answers. And every time I've even thought that, I was wrong. Wrong. Never ever underestimate the determination of a person's ideas and their goals and their mindset. The doors will keep opening for them because they believe they're supposed to open. You don't have all the information. That's number 3. Sorry, this is so long, but this is a longer video, probably 20 minutes. Number 4, take a moment to walk, listen to audio, or meditate or create opportunities for redirection. So that's another thing. If I find myself too caught up into what, is considered to be reality, right? You know what's so funny about this? I wrote this out about a month ago, but it's so prevalent to me today. I wrote it out a month ago when it didn't even really apply. I wrote it out. I was just like, this is a good idea if you find yourself too caught up into reality. And so this is very, very interesting that it's so prevalent in my space right now. So number 4, take a moment to walk, listen to audio, or meditate, or create opportunities for redirection. So one of the biggest things that I find as a help is redirecting my attention and my energy into a place that serves me. Thinking about my limitations or something that can't work or it is not right or whatever like that, it doesn't serve me. It doesn't serve my greater good. It doesn't serve the creator that we serve, right? It doesn't serve it. Like, look at the source. Look what the source does every day. It's just crazy that people think they have a bigger understanding than the source. It's crazy. Look what it does every day. You see miracle after miracle after miracle after miracle in people's lives every single day. You see this cosmos happen every single day in perfect timing, in perfect order. And human beings still can't explain what is exactly happening. You see women push out whole babies out of their bodies, and we do it like it's just everyday life. Yeah, it kind of is, but isn't it a freaking miracle that we can just decide, let's create life, and we just boom, boom, and we create a person, and they're like a whole person? I find that was the first thing I said to my ex-husband when we brought home my oldest daughter. I was like, can you believe we just made a person? Like, I couldn't believe that you could just make a person. I'm like, everything else in life you need degrees for, you need this, you need that, you need blah, 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 blah. But you can just go make life. So that lets me know that at the most bare minimum of our existence, that is where all of the magic lies. Everything else that we're creating behind that spark of life is all the stuff that human beings are kind of caught up in and think is important, right? But the wholeness happens at conception. And I think that is just the coolest thing. It's the coolest thing. Anyway, I redirect my attention because redirecting your attention is one of the biggest things that changes your moods, right? So if I find myself in a sluggish or feeling weird or whatever, sometimes I go take a shower. Sometimes I listen to some audio. Most of the time these days I've been meditating because it's been really good to my soul. I love to walk. It's kind of cold outside right now. It would be nice if the people didn't park on the sidewalks in this neighborhood. I would actually walk the neighborhood since I can't. I drive to a park and I walk around the park. And I'm just saying, it's like, you have to be able to redirect your attention into things that are wanted, things that you desire, as opposed to what you don't desire, right? Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I feel like that was something that was on PBS back in the day. Maybe it's Sesame Street or something. Anyway, make a list of the worst case scenarios to release the fear and the mystique surrounding the topic. So if I'm too caught up into what I think is reality, I make a list of all the worst case scenarios. I do this with my daughter. I did this with myself. I did this with my daughter. I probably should do that right now with myself, to be honest with you. But I did this with my daughter. She didn't want to catch the bus a long time ago because she never caught a bus before. She was homeschooled, and I dropped them off at school and picked them up for many years before that because they went to a magnet school. So it wasn't a bus driven. So the first time they had to get on a bus is when I put them back in school and I got a job. It was a 7th grade. And she just was like mortified, horrified. She was like, oh no, we're not doing this. And so we went through all the scenarios, like what's the worst thing that could happen? And my funnest part of that scenario was at the end of it, the index card, when she actually finally did it, going through the list and saying, now, which one of these negative things actually happened? She had like 5 or 6 things on the list. I'm going to miss the bus. It's going to drop me off somewhere else. I'm not going to have anywhere to sit. I'm not going to have any. The last thing on the list was I'm not going to have any friends on the bus. So we got to the last thing on the list. She was like, well, that part is true. That did happen. I don't have any real friends on the bus, just kind of people I know. But I'm like, come on now, you never missed it. It drops you off in front of the house. All your worry and anxiety was for nothing. And I know about anxiety being for nothing. It was for nothing, right? I think when you're a person that's dealt with anxiety on a level that I have, you don't even have the luxury of acting like you're going to just live into the worst case scenarios of everything all the time, because it messes you up too much. You have to live in a place where you're seeing the light all the time and you're seeing the best possible outcomes all the time, because if it's other than that, then it messes up your body and your mind and your energy too much. So it's like, well, I can't even go there. So let's just say everything's going to work out great. And you know what? Pretty much 99.9% of the things in my life has worked out great. I mean, it just has, right? I mean, if we're in comparison, it just has. I've had a great life. Moving on. Even with the ups and downs, it's been amazing, right? Number 6, double check with yourself that what you see as reality has not become your identity. Because a lot of times this is what's happening. What we're considering a reality to be is sometimes what we have created our identity in. And if that reality does not exist, then our identity is no longer existing, right? And I've been thinking a lot about this myself, right? Because I lived in a space for a very long time where I didn't make a lot of plans for tomorrow. I kind of did, but I kind of didn't, because I didn't have the luxury of tomorrow and next week. Well, no, that's not true. I had the luxury of tomorrow. I didn't have the luxury of next month. Put it that way. And so I didn't have the luxury of next month. So not having the luxury to think about it, it made it very easy for me not to get caught up into anything beyond that, right? But I also find that I placed a lot of my identity in living on the fly like that, right? Like a lot of my personality is embedded in, oh, don't like that, toss it away, right? Oh, don't like that, toss it away. Let's just keep on going till we get to the stuff we like. And while that's fine and dandy, but I've come to a place in my life too where I see myself in situations or in places to where everything isn't exactly where I want it to be, but there's something I'm supposed to be learning and I can feel it. And because I can feel that I should be learning something, I stay put. And I also can sense when my identity has become attached to what I'm creating as my own reality in my life. Like my identity is very attached to this bohemian style, vagabond mindset type of personality, right? And it is a large part of who I am. It is a part of me that I think is the most beautiful part of who I am. It's the part of me that's fun and that's interesting, right? Like all the other stuff, the academic stuff, the jobs, the this and that, those parts are cool, right? But I think the best part of me is the ease, is being the kind of person that people can walk up to and feel comfortable in saying all kinds of ratchet things about their lives. And they know I'm not judging them. I don't really care. You got your own journey to go on. Being that person that people feel like they can come to and say, oh, I was thinking that you were this way, but now that I know you're this way, I enjoy, that part of me, and not being able to be completely figured out is a very fun part of my personality, I think, because I don't even have myself figured out all the time. So me being in anything that's outside of that reality, because I've attached myself to that, that's outside of that, is really an attack on my identity, right? And so I have to remember I can separate my identity from what other people see as a reality, even if it's a reality for them, right? So I don't have to be offended if they don't like the way that I live, or they don't like the choices that I've made, or the choices that I make, or they think they were bad or good or whatever. I don't have to be caught up in that, because they're not attacking my identity. They're attacking what they think is a right or wrong way to go. You know what I mean? So you have to remember that with other people. Sometimes we want to shift things and change things and move things into a new direction, and people are really resistant about it. And you're just like, why are they so resistant? They're so resistant because whatever they have going on right now, they've made it a part of their identity. So therefore, any shift away from that, even if it's a bad reality, any shift away from that makes them feel like they don't know who they are clearly. And I feel the same way too when things like that are moving around in my life, right? I hope that was clear. But last but not least, are you open to failing forward? So that's my number one thing. I asked myself that question last, right? When I find my mind is too fixated on reality, I'm like, dude, are you open to failing forward? Are you really open to believing bigger than the critics, believing bigger than the naysayers, believing bigger than all the people that don't have what you want, but are telling you why you can't get what you want? That need to be a video by itself. Are you going to listen to all the people that don't have what you want, but are always telling you why you can't get what you want? So I find that when we're not solidified in our own mindset and how we see things working, right? We get caught up with trying to get other people to understand us. And we really spend a lot of time with that, right? And it's such a waste of time. And I'm not saying it's a waste of time that people are a waste of time. What I mean is defending and trying to explain your position on everything is a waste of time. When you feel it in your heart and you feel it in your spirit and you feel it in a place deep down inside of you that you can't truly explain to others, you just have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with knowing it may not look like it today. It may not have looked like it yesterday. It may not look like it tomorrow. But that thing is opening up, right? That world is becoming more clear to me. My next steps are being ordered because the universe, the source, the creator knows exactly where I want to go, even more so than me, and even more so than the people on the outside. Of course, if I don't even have a full grasp on it, right? So you have to get into that space where you're not so caught up into the world and what the world is doing, what the world is saying, what the world's got going on. If you haven't noticed, the world is always wrong about a lot of things, right? So you can live in that reality if you want to, but the world is wrong about a lot of things. So when you disconnect from those spaces and you disconnect from that mindset, you can truly open yourself up to the idea of, man, am I open to failing forward? Am I open to actually not getting this right and then still having to fix it and, move forward and make it better, right? Am I open to that? And I find myself, I'm incredibly open to mistakes. I'm incredibly open to what people might call failure because I don't believe in it. And I believe that, it's a loser mindset to walk around saying people failed at things or this may not work out and all that, because we live one time. What are we saving this for? What are you saving the best version of you for? What are you saving the fearless version of you for? What are you saving the risk taker in you for? Like, what are you saving it for when you're 60? Believe me, you won't want to do that when you're 60. I talk to 60-year-olds every day at work and everywhere I go. They don't want to do all that stuff, right? So what I'm saying is that you have to just keep in mind that any resistance to creating something new or expanding and evolving, and you find yourself really angry or caught up on it, there's something in your mind that you're too fixated on, right? And I've seen myself heavily too fixated on some reality that I'm gonna have to go ahead and try to get delusional about for now, because right now it's not. I don't want to I don't force. I don't like to force things. So I got to be delusional to some degree about what it actually takes for me to get from my front door to the workplace, right? Because I got to tap into some of that piece of me that's amazing that I use, and I pick and choose and use it for the things that I want to use it for, right? And so I'm gonna have to try to pick and choose and use it for that. And I hope that was clear, because sometimes I feel like I ramble and I'm all over the place, but I don't mean to be. Don't mind that picture back there. It actually belongs on the wall in the front room. And I'm going to move it today. Anyway, I hope you are having a wonderful, wonderful day. And I hope you are enjoying your reality, whichever one you decide to create. It's up to you. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.